Thank you very much, John, for those kind words. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen present here. Greetings from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And the Institute takes great pride in working very closely with XBRL India. XBRL International, we have the XBRL India, which has been formed by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And we work very closely with the government, work very closely with the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Whatever I'm going to show you now, maybe you see in your jurisdictions you don't have that. But in India, that is mandatory and permanent. And I'm going to take you to two areas: business responsibility and sustainability reporting, and social stock exchange. Something, if you're from Brazil, you might know about that. If you're from Singapore, you might know about social stock exchanges. If you're from Jamaica, you might know about that. But in most jurisdictions in the world, you don't have anything called social stock exchange. It's been recently introduced in India. So the first one. Can I? Sorry. All right, this is the one?
This for the next, this for the back.
Okay, all right, thank you. This is something all of us are aware about. And today I believe that we are going to have sessions on sustainability, Paris Agreement and everything else. All of us are aware about the 5 Ps. We are aware, most of us are aware about all this. But what I'm going to take you is the next one, the next slide. Have a look at that, what in India they have done. Now, since 2012, in India, they have been talking about sustainability. And in 2012, we had this business responsibility report, which was developed by Securities and Exchange Board of India. By the way, Securities and Exchange Board of India is India's equivalent of SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission that you have in the US. And they had this, and this was a list of 59 questions at that point of time. And these are all qualitative questions, nothing quantitative about them. So, then what happened in 2021, SEBI thought that let us have something called business responsibility and sustainability reporting. Now, this was a list of 140 questions. From 59, they went up to 140. And it is an improvement on the BRR, right? And yesterday, Krishna was speaking on the global reporting initiatives, the GRI. To a great extent, they have referred to GRI also here when they developed all these questions, 140 questions that they have developed. And starting from 2022-23, SEBI has mandated that 1,000 top listed companies must carry in its annual report a report on BRSR. And let me tell you, it's a big challenge in India today. BRSR and government is backing this. They're saying that you must be more in your coverage. And the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, we have been talking about the standards. Yesterday, IASB standards were spoken about. We have been talking, but SEBI has gone ahead and issued this BRSR. And SEBI, by the way, deals with all the listed companies. They're saying, first of all, the top 1,000 listed companies. And they are going for this BRSR. Please see the next slide. You see, it is closely aligned with GRI, with TCFD, and out of 140 questions, 40 are relative leadership indicators. These are voluntary. You may answer these questions, you may not answer these questions. And mind you, about 50% of this 1,000 top listed companies, they do answer these questions. For example, these questions, they talk about life cycles. They talk about employees' social well-being. What steps you have taken for the employees' mental well-being? Those kind of questions are see in this voluntary area. So SEBI has not made answering to these questions mandatory as yet. They are saying, as we go ahead, we'll see what is to be done on this. So, that is still a voluntary, but 50% of the companies out of this 1,000, they do report on this. And please note the last line. SEBI says, only XBRL. Last time, John was talking about the World Congress. when he came to attend the World Congress in November 2022, amongst the people who was attending or who was speaking in that Congress was the chairperson of SEBI, Madhavi Puri Buch. And whenever we talk to her, she's always saying, how can I further expand on XBRL? She says that is the magic. I want to have comparability of the information. And she's always talking about the XBRL. So all this data that you are having on BRSR is all dependent on XBRL language. Let me tell you. Right, so now he was talking about assurance. 2023, SEBI did something else. They had a subset. They said, we are going to have a BRSR core. Now, what is a BRSR core? They are saying from 2023-24, we are going to have this assurance aspect. You are having BRSR, fine. 1,000 listed companies, BRSR is very fine. They're saying from 2023-24, 150 out of that, we need to have our independent assurance. To what extent you have complied with BRSR? And that independent assurance, they said, is going to go up to all the companies in 2026, 2027. Now, what has happened there in India is you are having the BRSR, XBRL being used, and now, as John was saying, and aptly so, see, now they're saying, can we have a reasonable assurance? Mind you, there was a big debate. Those of us who are accountants here might be knowing the difference between a limited review and a reasonable assurance. There was a big debate in India that should SEBI go for a limited review and not insist on a reasonable assurance. But SEBI went ahead and insisted on a reasonable assurance. Then the next debate, John, was, should the chartered accountants only be employed, be given the task of this reasonable assurance? We have been talking to SEBI, but SEBI is saying, we will not make it an exclusive area for chartered accountants. Anybody who is good in sustainability, even an engineer, they're saying, could give assurance for us. They're saying, financial audit, you give assurance. Go for XBRL. But this one cannot be your exclusive area. Although we are still talking to SEBI on this, that let it be an exclusive area for Indian chartered accountants, but they are not agreeing at the present moment. That's how it is. Right? So if you have seen this, and mind you, see this slide. They're saying top 250 companies. This is the next one. That's a tough one. They're saying they have to disclose the ESG footprints on the value chain. Value chain, you know, all the customer, all the suppliers, everybody, they are saying that today it is not mandatory. They are saying from 2024-25, disclose for all the value chains. What is the ESG compliance? Difficult task. Most of the companies, they have this small and medium enterprises as the part of their value chains. They're saying, how are they going to comply with your tough requirements? SEBI is saying, nothing doing. 2024-25, you've got to bring in the value chains as part of your ESG compliance. Very, very tough one. India is really struggling on that. And then they went on to say that from 2025-26, we need an assurance for that. We need an assurance for that. So those of us who are in the room, you must note that India is getting very, very tough. We just had the G20. India was, in 2023, India hosted the G20. The whole leadership is totally committed to sustainability. Whole leadership is totally committed, the political leadership. They're talking about the net zero in 2070. They're talking about compliance with SDG goals in 2030. They're all talking about this. So the whole leadership, and they're backing it up. And then the SEBI is saying, BRSR reporting, your assurance, you use integrated reporting, be part of the annual report, and report on that. That's what SEBI is saying. So they're all over the place now at this present moment. And this 1,000 BRSR and this assurance, let me tell you, it has given many of the chartered accountants a new area. Those people who are specializing in this area, they're doing very, very well. And the institute is having, the Chartered Accountants of India, is having certificate course on how to comply with your BRSR. And whenever we have these courses, we have full house. Everybody, they're saying that this is the area to be in. You see, this is the area to be in. So that's how it is. Right. This is some kind of a history. You know, if you look at 2020, you know, this whole BRSR code was, you see, pushed by the government of India. They said that, you see, you know, these are the governance criteria, and you follow this BRSR code. So it is not that SEBI developed it. It was the government of India who developed the contours of this whole thing and told SEBI, go ahead with the listed companies. Right? It was the government of India who developed it. Right. So I'm going to the next slide. Have a look at it. They are always, in India, they're always telling us what is, even whenever we are talking to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the first question they will ask us, what is happening internationally on this? How much aligned are you with international? That's the first question they will ask. They're saying, all right, India has its peculiar socio-economic issues, but how much aligned? You know, when we make a presentation, they say, after 5 minutes, the Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs will say, all right, thank you very much. What is happening internationally on this? They will say, what is XBRL International doing? Taxonomy. What are they doing? We'll say, Madam, now a new Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs has come. We'll say, Madam, ICAI and XBRL India is doing this. She'll listen to after 2 minutes. Well, wait, what is XBRL International doing? So it is all international in India. This is the BRSR reporting format. You have 3 categories. Section A has about 12 questions, general information. Section B has about 24 questions. Section C has more than 100 questions, out of which voluntary is 42 questions. The total number of questions are 140. Voluntary, as I said, these are talking about life cycle, these are talking about employees' well-being, social mental well-being, these are the kind of questions. So that's why they have not made it compulsory as yet. They are saying India is developing in those areas, mental well-being of the employees. All this, what steps you have taken for that? So they're saying India is developing. We don't want to make it compulsory on this. Life cycle, right from the raw material to the finished product. Cradle to grave, they say in India. Cradle to grave. So they are saying those aspects, we will make it voluntary at the present moment, but be ready, we are going to make it compulsory. So that's how it is, life cycle. So these are all voluntary at the present moment. I'm now taking you from BRSR to another area in which Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has been a leader, and SEBI is working on this, social stock exchange. Introduced way back in 2003 in Brazil. Now, what is a social stock exchange? We have he's talking about Bombay Stock Exchange, the National Stock Exchange, now we have the Social Stock Exchange. Now, SEBI is saying, if there is a non-profit organization wanting to raise funds, or even a profit organization, which predominantly deals in the social sector, we want them, if they're of a particular size, we want them to be registered in the Social Stock Exchange to raise money. So register themselves with the Social Stock Exchange. They're saying in the process, everybody can register and everybody can raise money for the social projects. Now, once you raise money for the social projects, how have you used that money? What is the social impact assessment on that? In comes the social auditors. So now the social auditors and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has formed a separate not-for-profit company which is regulating the social auditors. There have been about 600 of them. They pass a tough examination. They go for 16 thematic areas and report as to whether all these companies which are registered in the Social Stock Exchange, they comply with the 16 thematic areas, and these 16 thematic areas are basically based on the SDGs, which are given by the UN. They are all the SDGs. So now the social auditors in India, that's also the chartered accountants, are moving from financial audit to social audit. They're saying that's also an area to be in. So they're moving from that. There's a big clamor for the social audit. Whenever we have the social audit courses in India, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, they come and say, can we join the course? Right, so BRSR is in thing, social audit. Right, social stock exchange. So that's also something new in India. But the government is pushing very hard. And SEBI is trying to monitor this, right? So it is, this social stock exchange is still in a nascent stage, trying to develop, right? Still in nascent stage, but we hope it does well. What we have done, we formed a section, not-for-profit organization, Institute of Social Auditors of India. Now, it regulates the social auditors who are registered, who pass examinations conducted by this institute. That's done by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Right? We are the first movers. We were the one, let me tell you, ICAI, who developed all the social audit standards. But now, the other institutes in India, there are 3 institutes. Institute of Cost Accountants, which is the Management Accountants of India, and the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. These 2 other institutes have also been given the power to form not-for-profit organizations to regulate the profession of social audit. So a company secretary can also be a social auditor, a engineer can also be a social auditor, a cost accountant or a management accountant can also be a social auditor in India. So, but he has to give a social impact assessment and has to report on social audit, right? So, and let me tell you, these are all the initiatives. You know, we have been very, very distinct. Even before IFAC did the Sustainable Reporting Standards Board, we put it up in 2020. Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And UNCTAD, UN, they gave us the award in 2023 in the World Investor Forum, that being a leader in this area. So we, at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, we worked very closely with XBRL International, trying to merge, amalgamate sustainability, financial reporting with XBRL, and trying to see, because we believe that unless the data is comparable, unless the data can be used easily, unless the data can be analyzed, it's no use having all this. So, see, we are trying our best unless the data can be tagged. So, we are trying our best to do this, and because of that, you see, in 2023, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India was given the award by the UN, saying that you all guys are one of the leaders in this sustainability. So, we are thinking ahead, trying our best in a changing scenario, trying to give the profession a nudge and a push. A profession which has risen, we are 75 years. And mind you, in India, we are the only institute. We have a monopoly as long as chartered accountancy is concerned. We are set up under an act of parliament. Can you believe it? We have 450,000 members, chartered accountants, 1 million students, right? So since we have a monopoly, we are trying to nudge the profession that go into these newer areas. Understand XBRL. Don't be stuck in your assurance work, because assurance work, getting stuck is risky. So, because of the nudge they are giving, and the next nudge is the AI that John was talking about. We are, very, very active on that front. We have got a separate committee called AI in ICAI. So, we are giving a nudge on this. So, that's what we are doing in India. India is a dynamic and changing country. We are the 5th largest economy in the world, hoping to be the 3rd largest economy in next 1 or 2 years, right? Our GDP is hovering around 77%. So it is, although the population is huge, right? But we are trying our best to see. But this sustainability, we believe, is the future. AI, we believe, is the future. XBRL, you see, the language, the taxonomy, right? The instance document that it provides, we believe, is the future. So, with these words, thank you very much for a patient hearing.
Thank you very much for those thoughts. We really like the manner in which India has really been taking a leading role in this. There are so many questions that maybe a lot of the rest of the world can look to India to understand that others have approached these questions. Who has some questions this morning? There's a question here from Phil.
Hi there. Thank you very much for that presentation. Really interesting stuff. I've got a couple of questions.
Yes,
one
please.
is on the mandatory assurance, which is coming in, and you talked about the fact that SEBI is allowing both chartered accountants and non-chartered accountants to do that assurance work. I was just wondering under what kind of standard they're required to do the work. Is it the international standard on assurance that you're using for that, or is it a specific assurance standard? So that was my first question. And my second question is more about the kind of future and whether when ISSB standards are further developed, is that something that SEBI are thinking of adopting or kind of merging into your current standards in India? But thank you very much. A really interesting presentation.
Thank you. I'll take the first question first. He's mainly asking about the assurance. In India, we have 46 audit and assurance standards. They are all conversed with the international audit and assurance standards, except one standard, and for which there is a ripple. If you go to India, you will find in papers they're writing about the group audit. That's the ISA 600 standard. That is not conversed, and as I told just now, the government is saying that internationally, see, why don't you want to converse? The institute is having a viewpoint. So as long as the first question is concerned, most of the standards are converged with the international. So when they do the assurance, it is based on the international standards. That's number one. Number two, SEBI having developed this BRSR. SEBI is saying that IASB, whatever is the standard, it is recommendatory that you follow them. Because what has happened, we are telling SEBI that, look, you have got a BRSR. You are talking about GRI. It's very good. But then you have a separate standard, right? ISSB has separate standard. So, and then these are all international standards. You cannot, there is no compatibility if you don't follow those international standards. There's no compatibility. So what SEBI is now saying is, and SEBI is now putting putting this forward very strongly, that follow the international standards. These are all recommendatory, but follow them. That's what SEBI has given a guidance also. So that's how it is. So international standards are also, the people are being pushed to follow the international standards also, in addition to BRSR.
Another question from the floor? So I have a couple. I wondered whether you could talk about the MCA mandate. So in India, you have an enormous amount of information from your listed companies is digital, and it's terrific to hear about ICAI's commitment to that process for all the reasons that you listed. I guess it's fair to say that the private company disclosures in XBRL have still got a bit of a way to go. I think there's a million private companies that MCA governs, and something like 30,000 of those are reporting annually. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you see that developing in India with the private company disclosures and expanding trust in that context.
Right. In India, what are the companies which are required to comply with XBRL? You have the listed companies which have to comply. The financial statements, when they upload on the site of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the financial statements have to be XBRL compliant. You have companies which are having net worth of 250 crores or more in Indian rupees. They also have to be XBRL compliant. You have companies which have a paid up capital of 5 crore Indian rupees. By the way, the exchange rate is about 100 euros. 1 euro is about 100 rupees. When I say this, I talk about in Indian rupees. If you have a paid up capital of 5 crore rupees or more, you got to go for XBRL. If you have a turnover of 100 crores or more, irrespective of private or public, you have to go for XBRL. But he's right. There must be about 1 million companies in India which are still not covered by XBRL. We have a new Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Madam Mukherjee, who has just joined. Last month, we had a meeting with her, and we were saying the same thing that he's talking about, that, Madam, if you're going to try to be really a modern country, the reporting even by the small companies should also be XBRL based. Now, two issues that she was saying, and she said that next month we'll talk again about it. She was talking about, John, you spoke about this yesterday in the morning. Cost. That what will be the cost for the small companies? Will they be in a position to bear the cost when they transit? Number one. Number two, inconvenience. Why should I trust all these things on small companies? Will it inconvenience them? by following XBRL. But we have also narrated to her the benefits. And we have said that Ministry of Corporate Affairs has itself adopted XBRL. And we said that, madam, if you go to the site of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and there you talk about XBRL, you have yourself spoken about the benefits of XBRL in your own site. So since you are convinced about the benefit of XBRL, why don't you have this for the small companies? We are arguing from the institute with her. She's just joined as a new secretary. We believe that we have her ears, and I think it is coming.
Very good. Next topic for me is the tagging, the assurance over tagging. So for the filings that go to NSE and BSE, the big exchanges, there is an obligation on, I think, a chartered accountant to provide some assurance that the tagging is appropriate. Tell us about the policy framework and how that process has worked, if you could.
Thank you very much, John. India is a country in which all companies have to get themselves audited by law. It is not that only public interest entities have to get them audited. Assurance services has to be provided to all the companies. So there will be about 1.5 million companies in India, and all those companies have to be audited. And who does the audit of this, financial audit of this? The chartered accountants. So, we are protected by law. The profession is protected by law. And that's a great concern in India, actually, in the institute, that if this protection is taken away, what happens to us?
The profession is well placed to do the audit, the financial audits. What about the review of the tags that go to NSE and BSE?
Right. Now, this review of the tags that John is talking about, it is mainly for the listed companies. Yeah. Now, we have in India about 60 to 70% practitioners who are small and medium practitioners. Yeah. They are not aware, John, about your XBRL and the tags. Yeah. We are now, having this training program for them to make them ready for the review of these tags that you're talking about, so that they become relevant and their review report is not really challenged by SEBI. So that's what we are doing.
So last thing from me, and this is something else from the floor, is AI. Your institute is one of many around the world that is considering the impact on your profession of these new technologies. Where's your focus? What do you think is the most important thing for the institute and I guess for your members, for your practitioners?
Two things. Now I'm talking as a chartered accountant, as an auditor. With AI coming in, I believe Mr. Wada is going to chair the session on AI. We believe that all repetitive transactions will be now checked under the AI system, all repetitive. And we believe that consequent to that, this whole concept of sampling in audit will go. Very, thoughts which may not be, welcome by everybody. But at India, we believe that with this 100% checking coming because of AI, the first standard to go, and since he was talking about the auditing standard, will be a standard on sampling. No sampling, 100% checking. Now, with this 100% checking, everybody says, will the work of chartered accountants go? What is going to happen to the profession? We are saying that those of us who are there in repetitive work, you are going to be in a bit of a spot. But AI can never replace humans. Unique thoughts can never be replaced by AI. Right? So we believe that as long as you are good and unique, you cannot replace us. But then with this 100% checking thoughts coming up, with all the repetitive transactions coming under AI, in India, John, the challenge is to the auditors, to the auditing profession, have you caught all the frauds? How good a fraud catcher are you? That is the ultimate. They are saying, we are not interested in your reasonable assurance. True and fair, go on giving true and fair. We are not interested in your how good a fraud catcher you have been. Now, once I said this, our argument is, we do test checks. How can you expect us to catch all the frauds? Right? Then they're saying, boss, but with AI coming in, with 100% checking, you cannot have that argument as a valid argument. So you got to be a fraud catcher. So these are the two areas which we feel that AI will totally impact the profession. And we are getting ready for it.
Excellent answer. Sometimes I worry that as all these AI tools are being generated and professions like the Institute in India are working through efforts like that, that there's a parallel effort, a dark effort involved in creating fraudulent transactions with AI. So there's going to be plenty to do, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in thanking Debashis Mitra for a terrific presentation and his time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My great pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.